Hey, fellow mathers. Before we get into this episode, we want to share with you how you can get access to free content, professional learning that will keep your students engaged and doing the math that matters. Get ready to go to this link, mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge.
That's right. Registration is open for the free Math is Figureoutable challenge that's starting May 15th and runs to the 17th at 7 p.m. Central. We're going to have 3 nights jam-packed with learning and routines that you can take straight to your classroom.
In these challenges, we have a great time. We do some math, talk about classroom experiences, give away super cool bonuses and prizes. You won't just walk away with routines that are naturally engaging and encourage your students to think mathematically. You'll also have a chance to win over $6K worth in prizes, including a few virtual PD sessions for your school. I'll be joined by my wonderful co-host Kim and special guest Jenna Labe.
You can register at mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge for a fantastic learning experience. That's mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge. Now on to the show.
Hey, fellow mathematicians. Welcome to the podcast where math is figureoutable. I'm Pam.
And I'm Kim.
And you found a place where math is not about memorizing and mimicking, waiting to be told or shown what to do, but it's about making sense of problems, noticing patterns, and reasoning using mathematical relationships. We can mentor mathematicians as we co-create meaning together. Not only are algorithms not particularly helpful in teaching mathematics, but rotely repeating steps actually keep students from being the mathematicians they can be.
Okay, so last week we talked about time and we talked a little bit about elapsed time, but today we're going to actually talk about solving problems with elapsed time. Okay, Pam, so I remember, it's been a while, it's been quite some time,
You're going to
but
tell
I
on me.
remember, what?
You're going to tell on me.
Oh, I was
It's
going to
okay.
say how long ago, but it was quite a few years ago. Anyway, so we were working together.
Just a second, just a minute ago. It was just a little time, just a couple years.
Just a few years ago.
I'm poking on Kim because in the last episode we talked about being specific about time, and now
I'm not. 20 years ago.
Dang it! I didn't want you to be specific here, but okay, all right. Kim's going to be specific. 20 years ago.
Okay,
neither
20
of us
years
are that
ago.
old. Okay.
And I was teaching 3rd grade, and I remember that you were working in the district that I was teaching in, and you came into my classroom one day and you said, "Hey, so some of these teachers have been talking to me, and they're asking me about elapsed time, and how do we find elapsed time? Like, how do I help my kids get better with elapsed time?"
Yeah, and this
Remember
is
that?
the proof that I liked you and trusted you. Because in that moment, I was still the high school teacher who was supposed to be the god of math. And so I was like, I can't look like I don't know what I'm doing, right? So in that moment, when they asked me, I was like, oh, yeah, we'll do that. Sure, you bet. We'll do that. I'll absolutely help you with the laptop. I just gave that knowing look with that
That's
smile.
awesome.
And then I went to you and I was like, what? What does that even mean? Elapsed time. Like that was not even a phrase as a high school math teacher. I kind of knew what it meant, but I was like, that's a thing. And you chuckled. You're like, yeah, that's a thing. And I was like, all right. You're like, how do we do that?
Yeah. Well, and I do want to give you a lot of credit in this because we've talked about this before and how I messed with number and whatnot, but I didn't really have a great way to model a lot of times what I was thinking about. And so I just did a lot of equations and I kind of like chicken scratched a bunch of stuff on my paper. But you brought number lines, open number lines to my life. And at that point, as soon as I saw an open number line, I was like, oh, this is a great model for lots of things that I kind of do naturally. And this will be really helpful for my kids. So as a 3rd grade teacher, I did teach elapsed time. And I remember very clearly being like, oh, this is going to be great because all you have to do is stick the elapsed time on a number line.
Sort of unwrap a clock.
Yes.
Right? Kind of like unwrap that circle to be a straight line and bam, you've got time on a number line.
Yeah. And so like the start time would be at the beginning of the number line and the end time would be at the end or whatever pieces you're trying to find. And the only real difference was that this time on the open number line, because we're talking about time, the benchmarks are 60 minutes or an hour. And so instead of landing on like friendly numbers being 100, then we just talked about friendly numbers being the whole hour or 60 minutes at a time. Yeah.
Nice. And I know you
Yeah.
just said that you could put the start time at the one end and the end time at the other. And totally, we can do that. I wanted to mention a little bit of a more general look, which is you could actually kind of put your schedule on a
Mm-hmm.
number line. Like
Mm-hmm.
often visual schedules in classrooms, I see as a rectangle. So it'll have like a rectangle of, I don't know, construction paper that will say we start at 8 o'clock. It might have the picture of an analog clock and it'll say reading time. And then it'll at the next, so there's kind of these almost bulleted versions of your visual schedule, and that's fine.
Uh-huh.
But I think there's a nice activity exercise to do with students where it's like put your day on an open number line. When do you
Yeah.
leave your house? When do you wake up? Put that time as
Yep.
your start time. And then when do you leave your house, or when do you eat breakfast? Put that time. And then kind of like arrange that all of that on an open number line. So like when do you leave school and you walk home, or this is your bus ride, or like whatever it is.
Yep.
So you might then say, well, when are you doing homework? Or I don't not necessarily want to promote a ton of homework, but when are you going to martial arts? When are you doing your soccer practice? Like whatever it is, like let's stick those things in there. I think that open number line view of a schedule can be really a brilliant way of helping kids just get a better feel for time and elapsed time. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So because the benchmarks for time are often 60 minutes, I think it's really valuable to play I Have You Need with combinations of 60.
What?
And I don't know that we've mentioned that before, but maybe in other areas, but I definitely think that if we're going to have kids mess with elapsed time to the minute, then they've got to be familiar with and get some more experience with combinations of 60.
Yeah, that makes sense. Total
Yeah.
60. So, for example, if you're playing with your students, actually, would you just say, okay, guys, today the total's 60. If I have 40, you need. If I have 37, you need. Or I'm actually really curious. Would you put it in the context of time?
Yeah.
Like,
I would
which
definitely
one?
put it in the context of time. I'd put it in the context of
Interesting.
time because I feel like if we can connect the dots for kids, then I think that it makes a little bit more sense. And so I might,
You don't mean direct teach though. You don't.
No.
I know what you mean, but if somebody could hear you, if we connect the dots, they're like, yeah, if I could be really explicit and just tell kids, that's not what you mean.
No, I think I'd probably say, hey, today we're going to work on 60. What do we know that comes in 60s?
Nice. Keep going. What else?
And then somebody's probably going to say time, or if not, might look at the clock or might look at my watch or whatever. And someone is going to say 60, and I'll say, okay, so cool. Today we're going to work on combinations of 60. And then just like I do with I Have You Need to hundreds or thousands, I'm going to start with multiples of 10. And so I would do like 30 and 40 and 20, 10. And then when that is familiar, then I would work on the multiples of 5 and then the multiples of 1.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In that order. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I would suggest that you start in those three groups, the multiples of 10, multiples of 5, and ones, that you start with numbers closer to 60.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get a feel. And I also, here's an advanced tip. Don't start with the half. So like if you're playing I Have You Need total 10, don't say I have 5. And when they say back that you need 5, then it could be like an echo thing. Like then you say, I have 6. They'll say 6. You're like, no. What's the partner to 10? So don't start with 30 if you're doing partners of 60. Just don't. That's a little advanced tip there. Yeah. Just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And you might, if I Have You Need as a routine that you do anyway, if it's a routine that you do regularly, you could kind of nestle this in a little bit before you start working on elapsed time so that, you've done a little pre-work to have kids familiar rather than saying, oh, today we're going to talk about elapsed time and also get good at combinations of 60.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we have a blog post. If you're listeners, if you have not listened to, we're kind of talking about I Have You Need as if you've done it a lot. So if you're not familiar with that routine, we have a blog post, I Have You Need. Just go Google Pam Harris, I Have You Need, or I think just I Have You Need will pull it up. Check out that blog post. We have a super download that lists all sorts of strategies and helpful hints for you as you're doing I Have You Need with kids. So you check that out. Okay, so let's do some elapsed time. Let's solve some problems.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I'm going to give you a problem first.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So, Kim, if PE, let's like physical education, if
Okay.
sport class starts at 1:35 and we know that it's 45 minutes long, when do we need to leave to come back to class? Like, when is it over?
When's it over? Okay.
Yeah.
So I just wrote down 1:35.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've played I Have You Need, I know that it is 25 minutes to 2 o'clock. So I just made a jump of 25 minutes to get to 2 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And then I noticed that I had done 25 of the 45 minutes. And so then I just made another jump of 20 to land on 2:20. So I think that we are done with PE at 2:20.
Nice. What would you expect a kid to do if they didn't have that I Have You Need relationship?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah. So instead of the combinations of 1:35 and 25 minutes, I might see kids make a jump of 5 to get to 1:40, and then another jump of 20. Or if they are brand new to Elapsed time, brand new to number lines, then they might make a jump of 10, 10, 5, or 5, 10, 10. But we're constantly wanting to nudge towards bigger, fewer jumps. So I might notice that, take note of it, and help a student with that.
Nice. Do you ever see, so my inclination might be, if I didn't know, or if I did, I was actually wondering if you might think 1:35 and then jump 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So we started at 1:30.
I thought you were going to ask that when I saw the 1:35. Yeah, it's possible. And honestly,
well, what is, it's a 1:35 jump 30 minutes. Now you're at 2:05.
2:05.
But we knew it was 45 minutes, so we still have to go 15 more minutes. Is that right? Yeah, so 2:05, 15 more minutes. Now you're at that same 2:20 in time.
I mean, theoretically, you could also shift back a little bit and say it's the same distance as if we had to leave at 1:30.
Okay. And then what?
So I kind of like take the 5 minutes off, add the 45 minutes. So that would be 2:15. And then put the 5 minutes back on.
To get to the 2:20. That is not natural for me. Nope. That one I have to really think about. Nice. Nice. Cool. All right. Your turn.
Okay,
Give me one.
Want one? All right.
Yep.
Here's one for you.
Okay.
You're going to go to art instead of PE.
Woo, art.
If art is 55 minutes long and we need to be back by 10:15, when should we arrive?
Okay, so I just wrote down a number line, and on the far right, I'm writing 10:15 because that's when that's when we're done, right? And we need to go backwards 55 minutes to see when it is that it would have started, because that's the time we have to get there. So I'm looking at 10:15. I'm just instantly going to the friendly number of 10. So I know that that's 15 minutes we've already spent. So now I'm thinking about, it was supposed to be 55 minutes. We've spent 15 minutes. So that leaves me 40 minutes. So then I'm backing up 40 minutes from 10, and that lands me on 9:20. So we better get there at 9:20 in order to spend 55 minutes and being done at 10:15.
Say that again. What time did you get there?
9:20.
Okay. Yeah. I was also solving while you were solving, but I wanted a different strategy. So
were you giving me a neutral response there? Is that your, like, because you made me rethink. I re-looked at my numbers.
You think it's 9:20?
Yeah. I was like, yes, I do. And we're like,
way to be confident.
Did you find a different strategy?
Well, 55 minutes is really nicely close to an hour.
Oh, sure enough.
Yeah.
Bam. So talk that out.
So if we have to be back at 10:15, then I backed up an hour to put us at 9:15. Yeah. And then it's really only 55 minutes. So then that would be 9:20.
That 5-minute jump. That's nice. That over. I should have thought that you would do an over strategy. Nice.
I do like over. All right.
Cool. All right. One more problem this time
Okay.
for you.
Okay.
Okay. If we leave the lunchroom, Now,
Okay.
sometimes lunchroom schedules are a little crazy. Kids are kind of,
Mm,
if they're especially to a big school, there's kind of funny times. So I'm just
yeah.
saying we have to leave at 11:47. 11:47. Yes, because we have early lunch. I don't know. Is that early for kids? Feels early for me.
Some go
Do
at
you ever
10
have
something.
right when you have the schedule the one year where they're like, sorry, but you have the 10:45 lunch. You're like,
Yes.
oh, okay. No, you like that?
No.
Oh,
No,
I
no,
thought you
no,
said
no, no,
yes. It's like,
no.
blah.
You
I
need
hate the early
afternoon
lunch.
snack time.
I totally like the later lunch because it just means if you can make it till then the rest of the day goes really fast. Anyway,
Yep.
I digress. Okay. So if we have to leave the lunchroom at 11:47
Uh-huh.
and then we go, where did we go? Oh no, sorry. We leave for lunch at 11:47. I read my problem wrong.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Okay. So we leave our classroom at 11:47.
Okay.
And then we noticed that when we got back, it was 12:16. I'm going to ask my students, hey, how long is lunch? If we leave at 11:47, we come back at 12:16. How long are they giving us for lunch? I'm kind of curious how long lunch is. So what are you thinking about?
I'm thinking you got shorted on your lunchtime. Okay. 11:47. I know that 47 and 13 make an hour.
Oh, I
That's
have
a
you need. You
combination.
just did that combo right there, huh? Okay.
So 11:47 plus 13 minutes gets you to noon.
Okay.
And so then you said you came back at 12:16. So that's 16 more minutes.
Yep.
So 13 minutes plus 16 minutes is 29 minutes.
29 minutes. That's not a bad lunch for kids. It's not. I wish adults had longer. Have we all learned to eat fast? I don't know that I can think of a different strategy unless I'm a kid who
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily own
Yes.
47 to 60. That
Yeah.
feels kind of important. But then I could go 47 to 50 and then 50 to 60 to get the 13.
Yeah.
And if I don't know, a student who's really thinking in chunks, I might go 12 to 12:10 and then the extra 6. And now that I have this 3, 10, 10, and 6, I might conceivably add those by adding the 3 and the 6 together to get the 9, and then the 10s together to get 20. I don't know. That might be a younger strategy.
Well, it's a pretty solid natural starting point, right? Like we're
Mm,
talking as if we know the combinations of 60 right off the bat because you and I do.
yeah.
But it's definitely a natural starting point, which is why we're suggesting I have you need combinations of 60.
I just thought of another strategy.
Oh, good. What you got?
Well, I was thinking if I wasn't using a number line and I was really like in my head, then I would probably think a bit more about 11:47 is almost quarter to noon.
Hmm.
And 12:16 is almost 12:15. I wonder if
Yeah.
podcast listeners are like screaming at us right now. Of course you would just do that because they might not be writing stuff down. And so this is an interesting moment where we can have a conversation about how sometimes writing things down might encourage one strategy versus having to hold a little bit more might encourage a different one. So if I'm thinking about quarter till and quarter after, that's a half an hour, but I'm 1 hour high on the 12:16, but I'm 3 minutes low. No, wait, sorry. I'm 2 minutes high on the 11:47.
Hmm.
So that 2 minute and that 1 minute sort of cancel out to 1 minute.
Hmm.
I'm not doing that very well. Anyway, so I had this 1 minute under 30, which then
Yeah.
gets me to the 29. That would be
Nice.
and honestly, if it's 11:47 and 12:16, it's really just about a half an hour, and then I could just
Right.
sort of figure which direct, a little less than half an hour, a little more than half an hour, and in
Yeah.
this case, a little less than half an hour. All right.
So I like these problems that you came up with too, because you have what's actually going to happen for kids is that sometimes you don't know the end time of things. Sometimes you don't know the
Mm.
beginning time of things. And sometimes you're wondering, how long is this going to last? And so, in any of those situations, plunking stuff down a number line is incredibly useful.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that because we just did 3 kind of separate kinds of elapsed time problems where
Yep.
it's a different unknown each time, but they all have the same model.
Yeah.
We're all using this brilliant open number line model and these partners to 60 to just sort of reason. We don't have to have a separate strategy if the duration's unknown and a separate
Yep.
strategy if the start times are blah. We don't have to like worry about that.
Yeah.
We just like put, what do we know? We can put down what we know, find what we don't. Brilliant way for kids to just be
Yep.
really confident. All I have to do is use what I know, think about what I know about time. Nice.
Yep. So an open number line is a supermodel to help students think about and solve problems dealing with time, especially elapsed time.
Y'all, thank you for tuning in and teaching more and more real math. To find out more about the Math is Figureoutable movement, visit mathisfigureoutable.com. Let's keep spreading the word that math is figureoutable. Thank you for listening and making math more figureoutable.
To learn even more, make sure you register for our free challenge at mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge. You are not going to want to miss the evenings of May 15th through 17th, starting at 7 p.m. Central.
Math teaching, go register now. That's mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge. Join us to make math more and more figureoutable. And if you can't join live, register and we'll send you access to the recordings. We'll see you there.